Sorry, a little bit tardy getting started here, but couldn't find a torch lighter for my cigar. First cigar of the month. So, anyways, probably gonna. Did you find one?
No.
Damn it. No. There you go. Unfortunately, no torch. Anyways, it's been a minute since I did a YouTube live, so excited to jump on here and do another live with you guys. We can start with some of the regular stuff while we're waiting for people to jump on, just so that we don't have a ton of dead space at the beginning of this for those people watching the replay. Black eye? No, I'll tell you guys about this. Wait till a few more people jump on. We got an American in Turkey. How is Turkey? I hear it's nice. I might be there at some point in the near future. And I'm not going to say why. Jorge Martinez. Chico was pissed this morning. Why did you say that? I mean, did you see him here? Did you come by? I don't think he was that. He's never really angry. He does like to bark behind the fence, though. Turkey rocks. Okay, good to know. Good to know. I hear it's nice. I hear it's nice. So, when it comes to some of the stuff that we got going on, as always, we have online courses. We have my book, No Nonsense Dog Training. We sell a lot of the products that we train with. So all the stuff that you see us training with, generally speaking, we sell it and we carry it on shieldcanine.ca. If you want to train with us in person, hit us up at shieldcanine.ca. So that's the housekeeping done and out of the way. You know, one thing, Donald Blair says, I have a luxury boutique hotel in Cappadocia, Turkey. I can host you. Damn, bro, that sounds pretty cool. I think, Donald, if you're a guy from Turkey, you know why I'll probably be in Turkey in the near future. So, Chandra, that's Jack's wife. Jack Dinsmore, the big bad helper, says, don't forget to like the live. Yeah, absolutely. Please do not forget to like the live. The more you like it, the more people see it, whether they like to or not. Hello, everybody. I got the no nonsense version of your book last summer. The printing company forgot the end. Yeah, you know, unfortunately, that was something that we rectified last year, I believe. So I'm hoping that anybody getting new versions of the book don't have that problem. But it was right on the spine of the book. Very annoying. Very annoying. Yeah. So people always ask me what e-collars I use. So I talk a little bit about the e-collars because I did mention it in the live that I did on... Donald, you completely misread me. I have no interest in dogs from Turkey. I have interest in other services that they provide in Turkey. Anyways, when it comes to e-collars, people ask me a lot about e-collars. So I used to be somebody, due disclosure, I've used obviously e-collars for training in years, right? A lot of people ask me, what are your favorite e-collars? And I used to be like, I don't care, an e-collar is an e-collar, as long as it's not just like an Amazon piece of garbage, I'm good to go, right? Like I don't buy those $50 piece of garbage, collars on Amazon. I used to be firmly using the e-collar technologies. And the reason why was because, you know, you couldn't really beat them for the money. The performance wasn't bad. And it was plenty for what I was doing. And I didn't really have a problem with them. However, I've had over the last, I would say, 6 months, a complete, maybe even longer, last summer. Since last summer, I've had a complete change of heart on the e-collar, right? So I used to really be firmly in the camp of e-collar technologies, couldn't beat them for the money, customer service was good, you know. I wasn't always a fan of like the round remote, but you know, you use it enough, like I kind of know, you know, where everything is on it, and it's easy, fits in the hand, so on and so forth. So I've been using these for many, many years. But I have recently become a huge fan of these, the Dogtras, right? So the Dogtras, guys, are I really like them. I haven't completely left e-collar technologies yet, but I'll tell you what, when I was training with Chico, so Chico's probably one of physically the hardest dogs that I've ever trained. And by that, I mean, he was extremely insensitive. He is extremely insensitive, right? Like, he just doesn't register physical pressure the same way that a normal dog or normal human being would. Like, he's extremely hard dog. He's probably the hardest dog I've ever met and seen in training. And so, and then you pair that with extreme drive, and it's unbelievable. So, like, for instance, if I put two ET300s, you guys know I do the double boxes. You know, let me see if I can grab one for a second, just so you all know what I'm talking about. So, like, this is my rig for gauge, right? This is two ET300 receivers, just like on a bungee strap, okay? So this is the regular ET300 receivers. You see that I put a bit longer CP thick contacts on there. And this is what I'll use for gauge. This is what I've been using for many years with a lot of different dogs, and I never had a problem with it. That being said, one thing I don't like, and listen, I'm not sponsored by any e-collar company, and I sell both brands of e-collar now, right? So one thing I just didn't like is, of course, you can't beat them for the money, but e-collar technologies does have some quality control issues, and there's no two ways around that. Now, the good thing with them is that if you do have a problem, generally speaking, they'll send you a new one, and they won't give you a problem as long as your collar isn't out of warranty. But, you know, let's just say if I put this on Chico and I used it on the highest level, it wouldn't really do much. Like, he could walk through it like there's no tomorrow, right? Like, he wouldn't respect the pressure of it at all. It wouldn't mean anything for him, right? Now, again, he's an extreme dog. So my go-to with Chico, and I've been using it now since last summer, is I know it's probably flipped around on the camera, the 1902S hands-free, right? I love this unit. This is my baby. I love this. And I've been using this now on a couple of friends' dogs and stuff. Just any kind of dog that's like extreme in the drive, any kind of dog that, you know, has a lot of problem, maybe like settling into the work. And if you use the e-collar, it just spins them up too much and makes them way too active. The problem with e-collar technologies is with those types of dogs is it's a hotter stim, right? It's a hotter stim. And by hotter, I mean, it's just like the stim, like if you put it on yourself, and you guys know I've used the e-collars all on myself, it's more of a very kind of like stingy kind of, especially at the high levels, it's more like stingy. It's very like stingy. Whereas the Dogtra stuff is a lot more blunt. The stim is more blunt, and it's more of like the difference between me poking you with my nail and poking you with my knuckle, right? That's really the best way to explain it. So I really like the Dogtras for dogs that we don't want them to be like, they're already too active. We need to kind of bring them down a little bit, and we need to create clarity. We don't want them to be suppressed, but we want them to be clear in the head. We don't want them to just spin up and turn into like these crazy things, which is what happens if you use those e-collar technologies with a dog like Chico. Also, those dogs can walk through it, which means like they don't care. You can give them the highest level on it. It isn't going to fundamentally change anything. So I really believe with an e-collar, you need to have scope. So for me, I still use this with Gage. You know, I might try a Dogtra setup with him. I won't be using the 1900, which is the heavy unit that I use with Chico. But I still use this for Gage, and I do carry these on my website. But the Chico unit, I only have one of those left, by the way, on my website. The Chico unit, I call it the Chico unit because it's big. This is a big freaking e-collar, right? The way I do it, again, double box, 2 boxes, 1 on each side of the strap, and then that way you have nice contact all the way around the dog's neck, and you have really good access. So when you're using it on Nick, the nick has a really strong impact on the dog, and you'll see the dog like really like settle into the work, you know. So that's why you've seen like Chico's performance as I've been training him. Anytime you guys see videos of him, like you can see like more and more clarity. So I thought I'd do a little bit on e-collars, talk a little bit about my experience with the e-collars, because I used to be in the camp of, you know, a lot of people would swear by the sport dog collars and be like, try this, it'll change everything. And I tried it and I'd seen it, and was never impressed with the sport dog collars. I hated the dial on them. Never really liked them. And I was always fine with the e-collar technologies. Now, I know some people are really into Bart Ballon's collar, the Chameleon. Hate those. Absolutely hate them. There's no top end on them. And just the fiddling around with the stupid thing, it's just not worth it, right? So for me, if I'm going to use an e-collar, I'm Dogtra now primarily, or e-collar technologies. Those are my two go-to brands, and they both have positives and some negatives. So yeah, that's a little bit about the e-collars. Let's see what we got here. What age do I recommend starting the e-collar? Well, I mean, look, you've got to make sure that the training that you've done prior to adding the e-collar into the equation has been good. If you haven't done it, then it doesn't matter if you're starting the dog at 6 months of age or 5 years of age. You know what I mean? Like the training that you have done is more important than the age you're starting the e-collar at. I know expert trainers that'll put an e-collar on an 8-week-old puppy and make fantastic training with it, right? And I know people that are idiots and put an e-collar on a dog that's 2 years old and completely fuck it up. So that's the reality. Complete Canine says, Dogtra is the best. That extra 127 levels makes a huge difference and makes it easier to work the most sensitive to hardest dogs. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm going to play with the collars a little more. I ordered a whole bunch of Dogtra 280Cs, which is basically the equivalent of these, right? The ET300s. It's about the same. I think the power output is very, very similar. So we're going to be using those on pet dogs and seeing if the training experience is better with those as opposed to the regular ET300s. What Dogtra model would you recommend? I need one that I can use for 2 dogs on 1 remote. You can get just about any of them come in a 2-dog variation. Do I have any e-collar training books? Yes, my book, No Nonsense Dog Training, goes in depth on how to train a dog from 0 all the way to 100, including how to use the e-collar properly. So I didn't need a separate book just for e-collar training, because e-collar training is part of the training. The fundamental principles of dog training, whether you're using a leash, whether you're using a prong collar, a choke chain, an e-collar, whatever, are the same. So my book talks about how to incorporate any or all of those things. The 1902 is the dual collar. Yeah, so anytime you see 02 in an e-collar description, whether it's e-collar technologies or Dogtra, what they're referring to is you're getting 2 receivers, 1 remote. And the idea is that you would have 2 dogs. Now for me, typically, even if I have 2 dogs, I always double my collars. I just love it for the contact, right? So it allows me to go really, really low and just be rest assured that I'm getting good contact. I'm never fighting for contact with my collars. And then it also gives me a much higher top end. So I'm never running out of collar if I need it at the higher levels, right? So every collar I use is doubled. I do 1 triple. I do have a triple boss. It's been a minute since I used it. I did use that on Chico when I first got him to clear up some of his issues in protection. But yeah, you'll see me use 9. So like a 1902, an ET302, it all refers to 2 receivers, 1 transmitter. Dogtra supposedly causes dogs to close their mouth, which makes it harder to out. Any truth to that? No. No, it does not. Because I know, because I've used it for outs. With a dog that is already good off leash but becomes a crazy hunter when a cat appears, is the reactive course the one to buy to solve that? Not really, because you don't really have a reactivity problem. what you have is a dog that under a specific contingency is ignoring you, right? So the contingency being, oh, I see a cat, I no longer have off leash obedience, I no longer have a recall, I no longer, follow instructions, so to speak. So what you need to do is actually just reinforce the things that the dog already knows at a significantly higher level. And probably what's happening is you're either refusing, to go to that level of intensity in the pressure that you're applying to the dog, and the dog is subsequently overcoming the pressure that you're applying in order to get to the outcome of the cat, right? So you just need to dial it up, and maybe you're running out of top end. Maybe whatever it is that you've done in your training, it's just not enough under that stimulation of the cat. So you need to add enough where the dog's like, okay, you know what? Not worth going after the cat. Z-Sprick says, how do you get a dog to stop chewing the pillow when it goes dead? I've tried snatching it away on a line, but she still continues to chew it once the tension goes away. Also chews when petting. I'll pop it out of her mouth. You can't chew when it's being popped out of your mouth, right? So if I loosen it and she goes chomp, pop, 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 right? Repeatedly just pop that pillow so that she learns, like every time I chomp, it tries to escape, right? Like I just won't make it ever comfortable. I'll keep tension on it. I'll come in, I'll pet her, right? I guarantee you're just going way too soft on it, and you're allowing the dog to just get away with this behavior, right? And I'll also put a firmer cover on it. Like I don't use a leather pillow I actually put a very hard leather cover on it. My friend Mike at Grassroots, he came up with this leather cover that I think Ray Allen makes. I bought one from Ray Allen to support Mike, and then after that they were out of stock, so I just went to the Amish and I had them replicate it, and I have like 5 of them, and it's just really hard leather, okay, and cinched to a pillow, right? And when the dog chews, it's just so easy. You just boop, and it's right out of the mouth. The dog must maintain a firm, full grip. How much is your course on just competition healing? I got a low drive Rottweiler. He's been a challenge. I don't remember. I think it might be like $129 or something like that. Donald said, I thought you were coming to Turkey to look at Kangals and Malakais. No. Those are cool dogs, but I don't really have any interest in owning one. Swoosh says, hey man, I have a question for you. Can I have a working line German Shepherd for a van life, providing all the dog needs, and get away only for work? Yeah, absolutely. Why not? I think that would be really cool. I think van life, if you're going to really live van life, I think a dog would really enjoy that. You guys traveling everywhere. I would assume going to a lot of like natural places, going on a lot of hikes. I think that would be a fantastic experience for many dogs. So I don't see a problem with that. I think a dog would absolutely love van life, to be honest with you. Oh yeah, so you guys are asking what happened to my eye. Well, it turns out my buddy's dog has a wicked overhand. Lucas, guys, you know Lucas, my friend Lucas. He has a dog that does PSA. Dog came in for a bite on the bicep and whacked me with his paw, and he's pretty notorious for doing that. So he got me pretty good right up under the eye and right on the face. So, that was it was not a human being that did this. Ironically, I sparred earlier today, and then I went and we did bite work, and then the freaking dog marked me up. So go figure. Was I wearing the blue wig when he got me? No, I wouldn't have blamed him if I had been. No, I was not wearing the blue wig. What do I think about poodles? I mean, they're dogs. Sensitive dogs. If you like poodles, by all means, go for it. Leopard Star says, any tips on training new trainers for the business? I plan to put me and my in training trainers through the Shield course because anything you put out is great. Looking for any wisdom you have. Yeah, I mean, everybody needs to be playing from the same playbook. What is it? What's the key to success with anything, right? You need to break it down into small component parts. You need to be able to document what those parts are, and you need to be able to duplicate what those parts are, and then you need to be able to demonstrate what those parts are. And if you can break dog training, as I do, into, those component parts and create a policy and a set of instructions for everybody that becomes a trainer with you, then, you can definitely expedite the process of training more and more trainers. Official Snowman Jetski says, I remember your video with a girl named Veronica that had really nice healing. Yes, she does have very nice healing. Can German Shepherds do PSA at a high level? Yes, they can. Will the U.S. trade tariffs affect me? Not at all. Well, maybe not directly. I'm sure I might end up paying more. Kendrick says, a Karen yelled at me for having my dogs off leash. They are fully off leash trained via your program, and we weren't even on the same side of the street. Yeah, unfortunately there's losers out there, and just when they see you doing something that they just can't do, it truly bothers them deep in their heart, right? So, they don't really actually have a realistic, especially if your dogs are just walking nicely in a heel next to you, they have no actual concern for the dogs or anything like that. It's just the reality is they're mad that they see you doing what they can't do. And there's always envious and jealous people out there like that. And I treat them appropriately when I run into them. It's occasional, very occasional for me. Generally speaking, most people are always like, wow, are you a dog trainer? Wow, that's so cool, blah, blah, blah. Oh, my dog would never do that. Well, that's what the feedback that most people get. But occasionally you'll run into one of these small, envious people, and you should treat them appropriately. Treat them with the disdain and the lack of consideration that they deserve. So, speaking of which, that video I did, I had actually made that video months ago, because obviously I was on a beach, and I'm not on a beach anymore, right? Where I was talking about shysters and BS artists in the dog world. Now that one ruffled some feathers, didn't it, right? Because there's a number of people who took offense to that because they know in their hearts that I was 100% talking about them. There's a lot of these individuals, guys, and my job, one of the things that I like to do is I like to educate people. And I like people to avoid, certain traps, certain things that you see online. Like if you don't know, let's say you have like a German Shepherd and you're kind of maybe into doing some bite work once in a while, and you really are interested in protection dog training, you're interested maybe in dog sport, whatever it is that, the working dog thing is interesting for you. You're fascinated with it. So you get in all the Facebook groups, you're on the online forums, and you're just hungry to talk to people about these topics. You're hungry to share with people about these topics, and just discuss it. And like anything that you would be interested in, you want to join communities and exchange ideas, so on and so forth. So I totally get that. What you have to understand is these communities are inhabited by, unfortunately, many unscrupulous or ignorant bullshit artists. These are people that claim to have all sorts of accomplishments. They've done all these things. They're capable of doing all these things. Now, of course, if you really look it up, what have they really done? And the answer is not freaking much, right? What can they do? You watch videos of their training, if they ever even provide it. You see their dogs, and it's just low-tier garbage. But yet they're on there pontificating, making statements, making absolute statements, acting as if they are experts on the topic. And many of these people, listen, I've been in the dog game for a long time, including the online dog game, right? So I actually know a lot of these people from way back when, because they were doing the same thing that they do now on the Facebook groups. They were doing it in the online forums, right? They were doing it in the online, back when we were all on the working dog forum, we were on the German Shepherd forum, right? Forums like that. That was the way that working dog people kind of got together and talked about stuff, right? There wasn't really Facebook groups. It wasn't a big thing back then. right? Facebook became big like a few years ago, or maybe it's more than a few years ago. I'm getting old now, right? But these people were all there. And in those days, it was much harder to post like pictures and videos, right? Like you couldn't just link them like you do now. Like it was a complicated kind of like embedding process, right? And we all didn't have, like, our phones weren't capable of taking video the way they are now, right? So like it was kind of a pain in the ass to make videos. So a lot of people, they would talk and all you would know about them is what you would see them write, right? Or whatever like half-baked website they came up with, right? And then like that was it. That was like the basis for what you knew about them. And, you know, a lot of people could really portray themselves as being very knowledgeable, as, you know, oh, like I've been breeding these dogs for 30 years. Meanwhile, they've just been breeding dog shit for 30 years. But like, you know, they make it sound awesome. They're dogs. They're talking about these dogs as if they're like extreme, you know, man eaters, like these fantastic dogs. Meanwhile, you look the dog up, if you ever could find the dog, and you see it's like, you know, nervous, mediocre drive at best, horrific training, right? But these are the people that were putting themselves forward as experts, right? So these people now, some of them, inhabit Facebook groups, all right? So that video that I made was to educate you guys. And I'm not going to go through all of the stuff that I said in that video again, but I wanted to let you guys know the red flags to identify these types of individuals, right? And they all know who they are. I have no respect. I want you to know I have zero respect. I have zero respect not because I'm not a respectful person, but because you have not conducted yourselves, I should say, in respectful ways. And you have spoken on things that you have no right to speak on. And you have no meaningful accomplishments. And as far as I'm concerned, importing dogs and selling them to Americans, you know, is not a meaningful accomplishment. You know, tricking people on the internet or talking a whole bunch of nonsense about something that you've never done is not a meaningful accomplishment. And I got no problem saying I have zero respect. None. You seem to prefer agitation collars versus harnesses. Is there a particular reason? Yes. Yes, there is a particular reason. Harnesses are a pain in the ass to take on and off. They're a huge cue for the dog. You know, the dog knows, oh, I'm putting this thing on. We're going to do some bite work. And, you know, it's just one more cue that I'm going to have to fade later. And, you know, it's kind of harder to manage the dog and control the head of the dog when the dog's in a harness. They usually have like a second line on a collar. Pain in the ass. Don't really like to use them if I can avoid it. Jumping back to that previous topic that I was discussing. You know, like I said, everybody's always going on sport versus real, blah, blah, blah. Oh, he's just a sport trainer. He wouldn't understand. It's like, yeah, I do this like super complicated thing that, you know, only a few people in the world have the skill and capacity to do at the highest level. And I don't understand how to do backyard protection work. Really? Right? You know, it's like, oh, he wouldn't understand all this complex stuff we're doing. Meanwhile, they tied a dog to a wall and they're like whipping it. Ooh. Wow, that's really complex, right? Or you'll see the dog half-ass barking and they put the sleeve on the ground and they're standing in front of the sleeve. Oh, super civil, right? And you watch the dog and you see the dog's completely like nervous, insecure, doesn't know what he's doing. He's being reactive. He's not being proactive. And they want to tell, oh, he's a sport trainer. It's like, yeah. Yes, I do things that are complex at a high level. I am certainly guilty of that. It doesn't mean that I can't occasionally drive to the grocery store. You know, it's like saying the guy that does Formula One, that Formula One driver, Charles Leclerc, yeah, he can't drive to the grocery store. You know, he can't do that. That's completely different. That's not. He does Formula One. That's not real life. You know, he can't drive to the grocery store. He can't. You know, rip around the block a time or two. It's absolute nonsense. Do you see any potential in poodles? For what? They're nice pets. Enjoy them as pets. They're smart. Yeah, they're smart. They're sensitive. Can they be used for work? Not really. Apparently, you legally can't have a protection dog that doubles as a service dog. Yeah, I don't know anything about that. I'm not familiar with the rules regarding service dogs. You know, it's like for me with service dogs, like I don't really get involved in that. I know a lot of people that do it. I have a buddy, like, he's got a dog who's like a man-eater, and like that dog has like a service dog vest, and he flies with the dog and he goes everywhere with the dog, and the dog is like legitimately about that life and will, do, and that's what he wants to do. That's what he likes doing. So I'm like, I definitely don't begrudge him that, but it's definitely not what I would want to do, right? And a lot of people are obsessed with like making their dog their service dog, and I'm like, okay, I mean, if that's really what floats your boat, by all means, go for it. I have zero interest. You want me to train the dog in terms of like real training, like functional obedience, so on and so forth, no problem. You want to get involved in like the nitty gritty of, oh, my service dog, can they be a protection dog and a service dog and blah. I'm not getting involved in that. When am I going to get a Belgian litter? Probably not for a while. The Jindo man says he totally knew you were talking about him. He was all over the comment. I wasn't talking about one person. I wasn't talking about one. There's a few of them. There's a few of them out there. A lot of them have been doing a lot of bullshitting for a lot of years, but you always ask yourself, right? Oh, your dogs are so strong, right? Your dogs are so, your dogs are so impactful. So when I go and I look at the top 20 in the U.S., I'll see your dogs in their pedigree, right? In like the top like 4 generations. I should see it within 4 generations, right? No, I don't see them there. Oh, that's funny. But I thought they were like these superhuman, tactical, crazy dogs, right? It's like, no. Oh, no, they're too real for sport. We only sell them to pet owners, right? Oh, you don't find the dogs really like in police departments at any kind of like, to any kind of, significant level. I wonder why that is, right? Health issues, nerve issues, mediocre drive. Most of them, not very good, right? Not very good. The reality, listen, I love how they look. They're big, they're dark, right? I get why they sell, right? But for the most part, they're not impressive. They're just not. Like the performance is not impressive, because I think people focused on them being big and dark and not so much on the heart of the dog, the health of the dog, and the working performance of the dog. And that's why you don't see those dogs in performance dogs, right? You don't see them in performance dogs. You go look 4 or 5 generations, you won't find those dogs. You might find one like 6 generations back, right? But generally speaking, you won't find them. Alejandro says, I have a question. I am working with an abused dog which is extremely insecure and has a lot of reactions about getting hit and receiving corrections. How would you approach the training? I wouldn't hit him. And I also wouldn't correct him. I don't correct generally fearful dogs. I don't, right? I use pressure, but it's not a correction, right? I don't use pressure in the sense of like, no, bad dog, right? Especially not in the training process. I use pressure in the sense of guidance. Do this, do this, do this. Good, 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 right? When you use pressure like that, then the dog becomes desensitized to the pressure and they start perceiving it in a completely different way than, oh, pressure is bad. It's a problem. A lot of people view pressure only to, oh, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong, right? You're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. How about you're right, you're right, you're right. Yes, yes, yes. Do it, do it, do it, do it more, do it more. When you think of pressure like that, it's a different thing. Logan says, are you taking on any students for IGP? I don't know. I got to be interested in your dog. I got to be interested in your goals. It's possible. I try not to take on too many. I love IGP. It's so fun for me. And I try not to make it a job. You know what I mean? Like I try not to move too much into the commercial side of it, just because I feel like I might enjoy it a little bit less if I do that. So I'm like only interested in working with people that I can I like their dog, I like their goals, it makes sense, you know? Brandon says, the fact that you educate on social media is outstanding. Well, I appreciate that, Brandon. Do you teach leash pressure that with just a flat collar, do you use a slip lead? You could use both. Curtis says, where do people think working dogs come from? Czechs. Oh, yeah, sport dogs. Yeah, no, 100%. There has to be a mechanism for sort of, an objective to some degree. There's nothing that's completely objective, especially in dog sport. But there has to be some mechanism to determine quality, right? Now, of course, IGP is no longer a breed test. Like, I don't need an IGP title on a dog in order to decide whether or not I'll breed it. That's never been my barometer. But I have learned more about dogs doing IGP than anything else you could think of, right? And I've done it all. People talk about, oh, I just do sport. No, you just see my YouTube videos where I do sport. I sell protection dogs. I've been doing that for a long time. As you can see, I do suit work. I didn't get this with a hard sleeve, right? I'm wearing a bite suit on the regular basis. Well, I lied. I am not wearing a bite suit on a regular basis anymore. I used to. I try to avoid it nowadays because things like this seem to happen more. I've done a lot of different types of work with dogs, whether it's pet dogs, preparing dogs for police service, preparing dogs for protection, and then, of course, dog sport, so on and so forth. So, for me, dog sport is the most complex of all of those things, right? It's the most hyper complex of all of those things, and I like to do it because it's complex, right? If it was just like, oh, go train pet dogs every day, I'd be like, it's kind of boring. It's kind of boring. I need challenge, right? And that's what dog sport provides for a professional dog trainer. It provides challenge, but it also provides a test, right? A test where I can see, like, these ideas that I have in dog training, do they work? These ideas that I have to improve performance here, do they work? These ideas that I have to make something more reliable, do they work? Do they work with different types? Do they work just with a certain type? There's so many things, right? There's so much complexity to dog sport. And you learn a lot in the process of trying to attain perfection with your dog. Do I have recommendations for starting your own BNT, business aspect of dog training? Yeah, if you want to find out the information that I have to share on starting a dog training business, I have free YouTube videos, and then I have a pro trainer certification course where you can learn all the things that I have to teach about running a dog training business, starting a dog training business, learning how to actually train dogs, for the pet market. And then we certify you if you're able to pass the testing at the end. So check that out, shieldcanineonline.com. Raymond says, I'm an aspiring dog trainer interested in IGP bite work, but also service pet training in Northern California. I'm looking into Michael Ellis and Bergen College for education. Any thoughts? Well, everybody knows what Michael Ellis is. I don't know Bergen College. I have no idea what that is. He says you stole the picture of the dog in the video. Well, the picture of the dog in the video was available to the public on Pedigree database, and I simply posted it, right? Is that his dog? Why is he concerned? Maybe the shoe fits a little bit too well. All right. Some people in the UK want the Alsatian to be recognized as a different breed from the German Shepherd dog. They don't like show lines. Would you back working lines being a different breed? Well, yes, absolutely. If you think about it like this, if I breed my working line German Shepherd to a Belgian Malinois, those dogs are considered mixes. But if I breed my working line German Shepherd to a show line German Shepherd, they're considered purebred. Now, I don't know if you guys know, if you guys have seen, some show line German Shepherds and some working line German Shepherds, but those are two completely different breeds. We don't breed them together, right? We don't breed them together because they have nothing to give each other, right? You would never breed I know some idiots do it from time to time. Not anybody serious, but casuals. You wouldn't do it from a working perspective because, as the saying goes, You know, if you throw a bunch of steel into a bucket of spit, what do you have? Well, you just have a bunch of pieces of steel in a goopy bucket of spit, right? But when you put it into a fire, you can actually make something. So when you breed two working line German Shepherds, right, you're making something. When you put the working line Shepherd into the show line, you generally make weak, nervous dogs with lower levels of drive, right? Because they're not bred the same, right? Now the same thing. You're a show line person. You're invested in the show line, the German show line. Now you breed that dog to a working line. Is your structure going to be improved? Are you going to win the next show with those puppies? Highly unlikely. There's just generally not going to be good outcomes. They are completely separate breeds. I think it's time for them to go in separate directions. For me, it makes a lot more sense to breed a working line German Shepherd to a Belgian Malinois than it does a working line German Shepherd to a show line Shepherd. And you will get better puppies from the Belgian Malinois. So I don't understand. Natalie says, Cats at Germany was great. When's your next competition? My next competition will be Ontario Regionals. I've been watching the Cats at stuff. I think it's really cool. I think it has a lot of potential. A couple of things that I think they need to change. They need to put a cash prize. They need to offer a cash prize. So for like Cats to really, I think, like what you see is like a lot of Malinois people there. I think for Cats to really become like where it needs to be, and I think it might get there at some point, they need to put some money on the line. Maybe not a lot, but some. You need to incentivize people, right? If you are a top level guy, right? If you are a top level performer, what is your incentive to go to Catsit over FCI Worlds or WSV Worlds, right? Well, FCI Worlds and WSV Worlds, if you are successful there, no offense to Catsit, at this point in time, there is much more credit for that. It's much more meaningful than winning at the Catsit, right? Now that might change in the future, but right now the perception, right, is what are we doing? We're not making any money going to FCI Worlds or WSV. You're losing a whole bunch of money. But what you get if you are successful, if you place in a high level at the FCI or the WSV, you get the credit, right? You get the acknowledgement of the level of training and the level of dog that you have to be at that in that place. Now, I think Satset can get to that point, but they need to start making trainers, making the top handlers believe that. Like, no, I'm not going to blow my load on, WSV. I'm going to save it for the Satset. Because there's only so many trials your dogs can do a year, right? Like every trial is like, it's some of the dog's life force gone. You know, there's a lot of work that goes into preparing a dog properly for a trial. So you can't just go trial. It's very difficult, right? And you really want to limit how many trials you do a year with a dog. So for me, I think if Satset really wants to take off, they gotta get a little more mainstream, and they gotta, I get what they're doing. Like they got the, like guys like Bart Bellon and stuff, talking and kind of, repping the brand, so to speak. And I think that's cool, but it's missing something. Right? They need a little more zest in a good way, right? Like they need a little more controversy, and they need to really make top handlers say, I'm not doing the WSV this year. I'm preparing for Satset. That's the big one. That's the one which A, benefits me most to enter with my dog because I'm going to win a certain amount of money, and also the credit that I'm going to get for being successful in that competition and the exposure I'm going to get for being successful in that competition far outweighs anything I'll ever get for winning a WSV, right? And that's what they need to do. Why is e-collar more used than flutes today? Probably because it's a modern dog training tool that has a lot of scope, I would guess. I love e-collar. Like they say, with Frank's Red Hot Sauce, I put that shit on everything. Everything. Right? Pet dogs, working dogs. It's fantastic. Why wouldn't you use an e-collar? Right? If you really understand what an e-collar is, and you understand how to train dogs, why the fuck wouldn't you use an e-collar? Makes no sense, right? It's like saying, I'd rather walk to a destination instead of drive. Makes no sense, right? Like if I had to go 10 kilometers right now, I'm not driving. I'm not even riding my, sorry, I'm not walking, and I'm not riding my horse there. I'm getting in my car and I'm going to get there in a couple minutes, right? Because it's clear, it makes sense, right? That's the same thing with dog training. This is like the idiots that oh, you don't need an e-collar. Yeah, you don't. You don't need one of these, right? Well, in some cases you really do, but there are many cases where you really don't need one, right? That's the thing. You don't. You also don't need electricity to build a house. You can do it all with hand tools, right? You can walk 10 kilometers. You don't have to drive. But we're in 2025 right now, right? We have a modern understanding of dog training. We have modern technology. When you meld a modern understanding of dog training with modern technology, right? This expedites the entire process, makes it so much clearer for the dog, makes it so much clearer for you. Has anyone ever stopped to think, why is it faster? Oh, you're lazy. Yeah, I'm fucking lazy. Of course. Why would I take 2 months to do something that I can accomplish in 2 weeks? Makes no sense, right? Why am I training a dog? I'm training a dog for an outcome, right? The faster I get to the outcome, the better for me and for the dog. Why is it inherently morally better to take a longer amount of time and probably not end up with the same quality of result? Makes absolutely zero sense. Like the retards that go out there and like, oh, you can train a recall without an e-collar? Yeah, you can. You can train a recall without an e-collar. They've been doing it for thousands of years. Is it fast? No. Is it reliable? No. That's why you see all those idiots in fields with like nobody in close proximity. That's why you'll never see them recall their dog down, a busy sidewalk with people walking and cars whizzing by, because they know that the likelihood of something going wrong is extremely high, especially when you involve a lot of competing motivators, so on and so forth. When you train a recall and you layer this into the training, that recall is number one, trained very quickly, and number two, very effectively and reliably, and you have the tool to always maintain that recall. The outcome is that you could now turn your dog loose off leash, and you don't have to screw around for, a year or 6 months or however long, these fools are trying to get you to spend. And for what? Oh, I'm doing it because I prioritize my relationship with my dog. Really? You prioritize your relationship with your dog. So let me get this straight. Your dog will do less for you than my dog will do because you have such a good relationship. That makes a lot of sense. You prioritize your relationship with your dog? Fine. Let's go compete right now. Your relationship is so strong with your dog. Let's go compete, right? Let's go step on the IGP field, right? This is a sport where your dog is judged on his expression, his speed, and his technical performance. Your superior relationship with your dog must, if I'm going to utilize, any level of reason and logic, since your relationship is so superior, it must yield better results in all those areas that the sport is judged on. No? That's funny. What about we just go for a walk down the street in public, right? We can go to like I said to our friend, Zach George, let's go to New York City. Let's take the leashes, the collars. We won't have treats. We won't have balls. We won't have anything. Just us and our dogs and the relationship that we have together. Since you've prioritized your relationship and I've just been lazy and abusive the whole time, your dog is certainly going to outperform mine, right? Oh, and here's $50K. If you can match me or outperform me with your dog, off leash, New York City, no tools. We'll just go for a walk. We don't even have to do anything advanced, right? Just, maybe some downs, some recalls, just off-leash healing, right? Right through Times Square, somewhere like that. And you would think that with all that relationship you've built, your dog would be willing to do that for you. But of course, you know that he won't. And you know that she won't. Because you don't have a relationship with your dog. You just have a bunch of false moralizing that you do on the internet to try and sucker, people that have soft hearts and who love their dogs and care for their dogs, and you use that to lead them down the snake oil road to nowhere, right? So I have no patience for these fools. Using this is modern technology. When you pair it with modern understanding of dog training, your results are fast and your results are beyond what anybody reasonably, what most people, I would say, can reasonably believe is possible. Like when people see me walking down the street with my dog and he's in an off-leash heel next to me, they're like, the average person that walks by is flabbergasted. And that's weird to me. That's weird. In this day and age, why is that weird? Why is that strange? Everybody should be doing that. Everybody should be able to do that. And the reason that they're not is because there's too many of these shysters on the internet spreading misinformation and guilting people, right? They're not using any actual facts. They're just guilting people and making, oh, you know, if you want to train in a fast and clear way, it's because you're a lazy person. You don't care about your dog. You don't love your dog. If someone could tell me, listen, there's 2 ways to train your son to do math, okay? Number 1, fast, involves some stress, but he's really going to understand math very, very quickly. It's going to take him a year, and he's going to understand, you know, he's going to get to a grade 12 level of math, and it's going to, you know, be all the math that he really needs to know for the rest of his life. There will be some stress, not too much, but there will be some stress at key points. But when he overcomes it, he's going to be more resilient. His understanding of math is going to be more complete. Or you could spend 10 fucking years doing it. What do you think I'm picking for little Mike? He's doing the 1 year because that's going to be better for him in the long run. We're getting to the outcome that's faster. What is the outcome that we want with our dogs? We want to be off leash with our dogs, right? We want our dog to have that off leash freedom. Like imagine walking your dog every day on a leash. That's crazy to me. Like how much exercise is your dog really getting? It's such a limited life, right? I cut my dogs loose every day, all the time, right? And that's how it should be, whether you live in the city, whether you live in the country, right? If your dog is reactive, how fast do you want to get to your dog not being reactive? For me, right away. I don't need that right now. That's not going to help him. That's not going to help me. It's going to make everything unpleasant. I'm not going to want to walk him because he's going to be making a scene every time we go for a walk, right? It's not going to be a good quality of life for him or for me. I'm going to fix that immediately. Probably not with this, by the way. But I'm going to fix that immediately. Abso-freaking-lutely I am. I'm not going to spend 1 year digging around doing something that doesn't make any sense when I can resolve the problem literally in a session and then just reinforce it repeatedly as we go on until the dog's generalized it and he doesn't even consider being reactive. You don't believe me? My dog Gage, go back to his puppy videos. You'll watch him being reactive as a young dog. Watch him. I did a session where literally you guys see me. I take him in public. He's like, I don't know, 6, 7 months old, and he's being reactive, as most shepherds are, but he is especially a reactive dog, right? And I go off leash with that dog anywhere, which is why I'm saying it is possible for anybody with any dog to do that. I'm like, remember Kevin, guys, that big Caucasian Ovcharka that I had, right? I had him for like 4 or 5 weeks. I was walking him off leash in the city. People are, oh, you can't walk him off leash. He's a Caucasian Ovcharka. Stop it. Stop it. Sabbath says, a real dog with ancient bloodlines should be able to take down elephants by 16 weeks. Yeah. But only those special ones. You got to go to those people to buy them. Do I have my dog CKC registered? Yes. It only matters if you're breeding. What's up with the scratches? For those of you that want to know, about the scratches, just watch this from the start. I went into it. Fundamentally, a dog did it to me. Did German competitors fall down in the rankings since their tool laws? No. No, they didn't. I'll let you figure out why. But there's certainly a lot of other people that threaten for that title. I mean, a U.S. trainer won. A lady from the U.S. won the WSV last year. Serb, Czech, Croatian, Slovak. They're so pretty, nervy, and gorgeous. Yeah, not really, though, Curtis. Look, if you want a nice Slovak dog, like I know people that have nice dogs in Slovakia. Are they purebred Slovak? Like, are they pure Slovaks? Like, if you go in the dog's like 7th-generation pedigree, are you going to see any dogs from outside the locality of Slovakia? Yeah, probably, but they're in Slovakia right now, right? You go and look at the top 10 performers. The Slovak team is very strong. The Czech team is very strong. Go and look at their dogs. It's easy. Go online, right? Say, okay, go find the top 10 people in Czech Republic, the top 10 people in Slovakia that were competing at the Worlds. Look at their dogs. Look at their lines, right? There's no like, you're not gonna see the people that talk this shit on the internet. You're not gonna see their dogs in those lines. But those dogs are in Czechoslovakia. Czech Republic, Slovakia. So by all means, go look at those, and then you can get a dog from there. And they look just like all the other sable German Shepherds. But, nice dogs. The Slovak team, I like just about every dog that they put on the field last year at the FCI. Gentry and Smokey says, given your background with German Shepherd dogs and IGP accomplishments and based on the training you've done with Hemi for PSA, what do you think about German Shepherds for competitive PSA? I think with the right dog, it's certainly possible. It has to be the right dog. You just have to select the right dog for that. Khalil says, hello, Has. Great one-to-one online session last time. Looking forward to many more. Although I bought the bundles, one-to-one combos with Has hit different. Highly recommend. Well, thank you, sir. And I hope everything's going well with you and your training. Z-Sprig says, thoughts on a very young puppy that shows avoidance, occasional aggression to strangers who interact with him, but has exceptional environmentals. Is this something to worry about in terms of work? No, Gage was very much like that, actually, right? And what has he accomplished? So, no, just neutralize him to strangers. If he has good environmentals, that's a good sign, just neutralize him to strangers. Let's see what we got here. 3-year-old male Kenna Corso, extremely spoiled, no discipline whatsoever, except walking on a leash tolerably with one person. Is this hopeless for a board and train? No, not at all. That can be resolved in 4 to 5 weeks. How do you handle a trained dog when they ignore their recall once in a blue moon, but have no equipment on? Had my first oops with the puppy, went after a cat, but she eventually came back. You plan ahead. You say, oh, okay. I see that the training is slipping, or the training is slipping under these circumstances. Well, now I need to set this situation up again, or at least be prepared next time. And I need to use that as a learning experience, right? It's just like I put my dogs out without e-collars all the time. I call them, they come back. Occasionally, I start to notice that it's taking a few too many recalls to get the dog back, right? So they say, oh, okay, I see what we're doing here. And I make the necessary adjustment. And the dog gets sharpened up on the training, and it's like, oh yeah, you know what? The first time he says come, I probably should. It's just that simple. Lorraine Harvey has IGP Summer School in the plans for 2025. Maybe I'll do like a week. Maybe I'll hold a week camp. We'll see if people want it. Hi, Has. Hope you're doing well. Strange question. Have you ever been in an incident where you've had any of your dogs act in a real protection situation? No. I've never been accosted. I've never had anybody get after me like that when I was out with my dogs. So, no, I've never really had to use them in that context. Maddie says, hi, Has. Hope you're doing well. Strange. Oh, no, that was Maddie. Sorry. Hamza says, love to see videos with Kevin, the Caucasian Ovcharka. Yeah, well, unfortunately, he is no longer with me. He is living with somebody else and has been for, I think, a year now. IGP is wonderful. In Europe, kind of want to remove it. Ridiculous. Yeah, I don't know if it's... I think the sport may have been saved now. I thought it was going to be gone in 5 years. I think the sport may have been saved because Germany declared it like a cultural heritage. So, like, once something's like a cultural heritage, I don't think you can really touch it. Hello, Has. I just want to ask your opinion about sterilization for my German Shepherd. Should I do it if he's 4 years old at the moment, healthy? No, I mean, you could do it at 4. He's fully grown, so there's nothing wrong with doing it. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with doing it. If you want to do it, do it. Curtis says, the funny thing is that people think police dogs are super well trained. IGP is the tip of the spear. Yeah, I mean, they are not. Police dogs are definitely not, for the most part, what I would consider to be well trained, right? But a lot of people do believe that. Because you would think, right, like, oh, they're using those dogs in real life, so they must be really, really well trained. And for the most part, they are not. They are not well trained. The obedience is bare bones, if at all present. I think a lot of it's more aspirational than real. But, you know, really, if you have a good dog, you know, if the handler knows how to manage him, does he really need to have that much training? Not really, right? Take him out of the car. I talked about this in my last live. You take him out of the car, you clip the leash on him, you put him on a hot track, and you let him, you know, find the guy. Like, it's all like basically drive behavior. So you obviously teach him how to track, you teach him how to do detection, you teach him how to do apprehension. But these are all behaviors that come from the drive of the dog, right? So if you can just contain him from situation to situation, manage him from situation to situation. Okay, let me put a leash on. Let me take him over here. Okay, there's a suspect over there. Let me give my warnings, release the dog. He goes in there, searches, finds the guy, bites him. We pull him out, right? Like detection, all that stuff. It's like, it's not super advanced training, right? It's not like, I'm not saying that it's not important. Obviously it is, right? Like, especially if they do it well. There's a lot of dogs. I think there's a lot of police dogs out there that are masquerading. They're like fake, you know, like they won't actually do an apprehension, but, you know, supposedly they're well trained. They won't actually do detection, but, you know, they pretend to do detection every once in a while. Same with tracking, you know, the dog's going for a walk, you know, but there's some that you see they're very good, right? They're very driven in the work, so on and so forth. And then, of course, there's some police handlers that really do put in the work and they have fairly good level of training. But unfortunately, that is a minority. Do I still have my horse? I have my horses, yes. What's going on, Haz? It's Conrad. What's going on with you? Conrad's in our pro trainer course. I actually have a couple people in our pro trainer course here. No, that would not be a band dog. A German Shepherd and a Malinois are not a band dog. A band dog is like a Molliser mix. Is 8 months old too old to start IGP training? She has extreme food and ball drive. She wants to work. No, certainly not too old. It's never too old. By all means, go get after it. Spice and Jackson says, a trainer bought a border collie. He was perfectly fine, good temper. He had no problem. However, she did not implement boundaries for playing. Now he outs toys to nip hands. E-correction would fix it? Potentially. I mean, it's a border collie. Probably a firm voice would fix it. Hey, don't do that. Oh, okay, sorry. Right? It's a border collie. Raul Garcia says, hello, Haz. Question. What do you think of free shaping? I hear it's the most powerful way of learning. I did mind leash pressure and luring. Yeah, that's just another one of those like airy-fairy things. You know, it's like, why don't we just sit in a room? We can put some crystals around the room and light some fucking candles, and then we can sit there and let the dog free shape his way into something. It's like, just show the dog. Like, listen, if you want to teach me something, don't sit there quietly and ask me to figure it out. Show me what the hell you want me to learn, right? Show me in small pieces. Show me what you want me to do, and then help me put all the pieces together and positively reinforce me for doing it the right way, right? And if necessary, apply appropriate stress for doing it the wrong way. That's it. Very quick, right? We don't need to turn it into this freaking, you know, I don't even know, spiritual experience. Nonsense. Sometimes sometimes like, if you have like a wife or a girlfriend, they'll try to free shape with you. Like, they'll sit there, you know, like, you'll be like, oh, hey, how's everything going? You know, it's good. It's good. Are you okay? Yeah. Yeah, I'm okay. That's free shaping. You know, they're waiting for you to figure it out. They're waiting for you to come to just tell me what's wrong. Why work harder when you can work smarter and faster? Absolutely. Velcro says, e-collar training was the very best thing I did for my shepherd. It has been life-changing. The Doberman puppy is also getting the same education. Awesome. I just finished your book and have watched lots of your videos training my 8-month-old Cortals Griffin. It's been great seeing the difference. Great information. Thank you. Awesome, man. It's so cool to me that people can read a book and fully train their dog. That is awesome. Has got time for MFs today. Absolutely. You know, I got to make some time from time to time. I can't imagine training dogs 80 years ago with a long line, stalking them down to reinforce a recall. Oh, they did all sorts of shit. Have I ever told you guys about the recalls? So like hunters, right? You know, like really functional obedience was really important for hunters, like retrievers, guys that had like spaniels for upland game hunting, so on and so forth. So they had all sorts of ways to reinforce a recall back in the day, right? So obviously they would teach the dog with a leash in the beginning, with a line in the beginning. And there was generally no food involved, no like positive reinforcement other than a, hey, good job, buddy, right? If even that. And that was the recall. And then when they would cut the dog loose, they knew that at some point the dog probably wouldn't come, so they had like throw chains. These are like chains, like chains, like maybe like about that long, and like a bundle of chains. And the idea was you would call the dog, and if he didn't come, like you'd kind of throw the chains, and they like and whack him, right? They had throw chains. They would do things like, okay, so there was this thing they called swatting the dog, all right? They would take a shotgun and they would put like very light bird shot in it. And if the dog didn't come when he was called, they would shoot him in the ass. Now, of course, if you guys know anything about a shotgun, it really spreads. So the idea was that he would be obviously at distance, like, 50 yards or whatever, refuses the recall, no, boom, shoot him. And the bird shot, would pepper the dog, and woo, obviously he'd freak out, and then they'd call the dog back. These are the kinds of things they did before e-collars, right? So it's not that they didn't use pressure. It's that the type of pressure they used was extremely crude, extremely stressful for the dog because it was extremely crude. E-collars are very, very humane training tools, guys, compared to, I'm just getting started. There's a lot of other things I could tell you guys about, but like, these are the kinds of things they used to do back in the day. Zach finally losing credibility. Also, Robert Cabral wakes people up. Like, oh, he's referring to Zach George. How did Zach ever have any credibility? How did any reasonable person ever look at this guy who's talking like this all the time and saying all this like stuff that doesn't even make sense, doesn't stand up to any kind of even beginner logic, right? Doesn't even have his own dogs trained. You can see it. You can watch videos of his own dogs like not doing what they're supposed to do, right? How does anybody watch that and say, oh yeah, let me listen to this guy? The fact that so many people did tells me that society is not in a very good place. It's probably why we got to the point where we got to in today's day and age, where people don't even know what bathroom to use anymore, right? I'm pretty sure that's how we got here. It's just a symptom of that. How would anybody look at that guy and say, yeah, that's a guy to listen to. I want those outcomes with my dog. It's not like there weren't other guys to see. Hey, Haz, what's the best way to introduce the e-collar to my dog? Follow the process in my book, or you can get my Elite Off Leash course. There's also free videos on my YouTube channel on it. Day Prada says, I had a elder man who was fascinated with how well my German Shepherd puppy was walking next to me, next to his barking dog. Yeah, people are always fascinated when you have a well-trained dog, because everybody, it turns out, wants one. When a dog always needs a firm correction in the beginning of sessions to be fully focused for the session, is there a problem in the training? Yes, there is. Yes, there is. If your dog is always needing pressure in the beginning in order for the dog to, let's say, calm down, straighten out, pay attention, so on and so forth, what you have is a dog that is playing what I would like to call Russian roulette, right? Except for him, it's not really Russian roulette. So that's actually probably a bad analogy. Russian roulette, obviously, for those of you that don't know, is you take a gun, There's a revolver. You spin the chamber. There's one bullet in there. You hold it to your head. Click or boom. And the idea is that you're taking a chance. It's like a 1 in 8 chance or however many chambers the revolver has that you're either going to blow your brains out or you give it to the next guy. And basically whoever chickens out first, I guess, loses the game, right? So when a dog is entering a session and he's saying, I'll wait to feel the pressure. I'll wait for you to correct me before I listen. That is a dog that does not respect the potential consequences. That is a dog that says, yeah, the pressure is actually no big deal. I'll wait to feel it to make sure that you're actually going to make me do any of these things before I actually listen to you in any kind of meaningful way. So for those types of dogs, I need to sensitize them more to the pressure. So they say, you know what? No, I don't want to be corrected. In this case, we're talking about a correction. I don't want to actually be corrected for making a mistake here. I just want to do it right from the beginning. I want to avoid the correction. In this circumstance, we want the dog to avoid the pressure. There's times, of course, to use pressure to reinforce good behavior and to reassure a dog. But then there's times to be like, hey, don't wait to feel pressure here. Avoid this pressure. And in that case, it's usually an intensity issue in your pressure and just starting on the right foot and creating that, hey, that aversion there. Hey, don't screw around here. Not a good idea. Back then, they used slingshot, and this is from the Trudging Tech, and steel BBs per Kohler's recommendation. His book was de facto dog training for years. Yeah, I forgot about the slingshot and BBs. I guess that was a little bit nicer than the shotgun. Still probably hurt quite a bit. Lost my right eye to a sports injury many years ago, rugby. Please wear goggles. When I'm catching Lucas's dog, I better wear freaking goggles. That dog is trying to take an eye out, and one of these days he might. Mini Educator, sell that bungee thing you got. I ain't seen that before. Absolutely agree with you. They might, but I carry them, so you can go on my website and you can buy these bungees. Are you going to have any discounts on your courses anytime soon? I don't know, probably not. You know what? I tell you what, everybody watching this, you got to be watching it live because this isn't going to work. I'm not going to allow this after the live. If you're watching this and you want a discount on my course, email info@shieldcanine.ca and say, I'm watching Hazes live and I want a discount. And I'll tell them to give you a 20% discount. All right? But you've got to be watching right now live. If you're watching the replay, if you're watching the replay as of tomorrow, you're screwed. No. Nah, you got your ass kicked. You talking about the scratch on my face? That was a dog. I don't mind. Listen, anybody that knows me knows I don't mind throwing hands. We can throw them. It's all good, you know. Win or lose, it's a good time for everybody involved. So, you know, I do it twice a week, and it's enjoyable. I truly enjoy it. I don't know. I spent, when I was on vacation, I don't know if I would call it a vacation. When I was on a workation recently, I wasn't sparring for like a month. It sucked. I really missed it. But when you're wearing gloves, you don't generally get marked up like this, right? Roadrunner, can you suggest for me any of your training programs? 2-year-old Dogo Argentino with serious dog aggression. When she was young, I'd take her anywhere, no issue. Yes, a reactive rehab package. Curtis says, they're in Slovakia right now, though. I half choked on my drink. Hey, should I find a mentor? How do I start IGP? I'm not sure how I feel about the clubs near me. There are barely any. Generally, clubs suck for anything other than to use the field. I'm a big believer, if you want to be good at something, you get yourself a coach, whether it's an online coach or an in-person coach, and you pay the money, and they'll walk you through all the things that you need to do in the right order. All right. Hey, you know who else is a good-looking dog is Chico. Chico's a beautiful dog. Whenever anybody sees him, he's got that wow factor. What else do we got here? What else we got here? Aaron says, same people who never say no to kids and ask permission to change a baby's diaper are the people who listen to Zach. Yes, yes, they are. Can you do a video on setting up the dog trail like you did with the educator? Found that video super helpful. Yes, I will do one. Not done yet. James says, it's boggling you can watch other positive trainers that are so much more skilled than Zach and don't spend most of their time ranting. Yes, you can. There are actually some really good positive only trainers out there. They're still limited in what they can and cannot do, regardless of what they say, but they're certainly a lot more skilled than that individual. Curtis says, I didn't want to say that part, but my grandpa told me about swatting dogs with sand and rock salt. He was born in 1912, so don't judge him. Yeah, they also used to shoot dogs if dogs screwed up. Like, oh, let's say maybe he got a little too excited and like nipped somebody. Boom, take him out back, shoot him in the head. That's what they used to do, right? It was a very different world back then. Again, modern dog training, modern tools. I think free shaping is important for creating a thinking dog. I don't want my dog to do something because he has to. This is from Holly Blaze. He has to. I want him to want to do it, and letting him make his own decisions is key. Oh, really, Holly? Do you allow your children to make their own decisions too? That's what I do. I take my 3-year-old, I sit him down in front of me, I say, hey, buddy, what do you want to do today? What do you want to do? I mean, you've got really advanced cognition. You're definitely going to make good choices, good decisions for yourself, right? That's a freaking human being. You think I do that with a dog? Are you crazy, right? A thinking dog? I guarantee you this, Holly. I guarantee you this. If we ever did anything together with dogs, your dog would be thinking, but not about you. He'd be thinking about everything except you, because you're engaged in this navel-gazing ideology that makes absolutely no sense. What do you mean a thinking dog? I need you to do certain things that are probably never going to cross his mind. I need you to sit and stay. I need you to down. I need you to come. I don't need you to know why. I don't need you to think about it. I need you to walk next to me. I need you to let go of that. I need you to not go after that dog over there. I know you're chasing a bunny, but when I call you, I need you to come. You don't need to be thinking about it. Like, think about what dog training is. There's no thinking necessary, right? And again, you're asking for advanced cognition from a creature that is simply not capable of it. They're stimulus response based. Everything is stimulus response, and it's all based on their instincts and the genetic code that's been installed in them, depending on the breed, for however many thousands of years. What is this nonsense? All dog training, especially when we talk about the average pet dog, right? The average service dog, there's no thinking necessary. Now, when we talk about complex things like, oh, I don't know, I want to compete in dog sport. Think? What do you mean think? Do. I need you to do, and I need you to do it the right way. Well, there's no thinking necessary. Now, if he wants to go be in the backyard by himself and think, that's completely fine with me. But this idea of thinking is going to somehow create like this better dog, I guarantee you my dogs will outperform you. And I don't say that because, again, I'm being cocky. I just know it. I know it based on what you wrote, right? You're the kind of person that stands around for 10 minutes waiting for your dog to come to you so that you can click and give him a cookie, right? And of course, there'll be all these stories about how your dog is so good at this and that and everything else. And in reality, he probably can barely hold a sit in PetSmart, and that's the reality. Because all things that we need dogs to do, generally speaking, don't involve a lot of thinking, right? We're utilizing their instincts, or we're manufacturing behavior based on our personal convenience or based on the safety of the dog, right? I need you to come when you're called. It's not a complicated thing, but it's so important. It's literally life or death. I need you to not chase the bunny. Well, that's natural for him. Why wouldn't he chase the bunny? But I need you to not do it, right? Because again, you could run into the woods, you could get lost, you could run into the road, so on and so forth. It just doesn't make any sense, right? When you really think about it, it doesn't make any sense. I'm going to show the dog what I need him to do. I'm going to reinforce those behaviors, right? Now, he can think about it all he wants while he's doing it. That's completely fine with me. And I'm going to positively reinforce him when he does it the right way. And I'm also going to negatively reinforce him to improve the performance of the thing that I need him to do. But this idea of like, oh, I need him to think and make free choices and blah, it's a dog. It's a dog. It's completely unnecessary. Now, if you want him to, for me, the time for free choice for a dog is the same as for a kid, right? Like I know certain things, like my children, okay? They need to come when they're called, just like the dogs. They need to eat their dinner. They need to eat their breakfast, right? They need to do their homework. They need to clean up when we ask them to clean up. They need to not hit each other. Basic things like they need to do. All the things they need to brush their teeth. I don't need them to be thinking about it. I don't need free choice because they're just not at that level yet where they can understand the long-term implications, both positive and negative, of doing or not doing something. Now, the time for them to be free, when I put them in the backyard and I give them their toys and I say, go have fun. Go be free. That's your imaginative play. Or they're playing in the living room, you give them their blocks, whatever else. It's the same for the dog, right? Well, you know what happens when I give my dog free choice and what happens when you give your dog real free choice and you just turn them loose? They go, they lie in the yard, they chew on a stick. If they're in the house, they go and they lie down, relax. That's what they do. They don't like go and, play with blocks or something like this. They just calm down and relax, right? Because that's all they do. They don't actually need to do stuff like that. It's airy-fairy nonsense. Cesar Arujo says, I finished Elite Off-Leash course and I have a 100-pound Rottweiler. I have a Rottweiler who does really well with low stim recall, but I completely ignores high-level corrections at 70 plus. I see twitching, still ignore. Finish Elite Off, who does really well with a low stim recall, but completely ignores a high-level correction. Yeah, well, at 70 plus, listen, how many levels does your e-collar have? 70 plus. No. If you're going to the maximum of the e-collar and the dog's walking through it, which a Rottweiler easily can, assuming you're using something like this, you need more top end, my friend. See, it's really, really important for the dog to understand. Listen, if I'm using pressure to teach a dog to do something, like, hey, come to me, come to me, come to me. And I do this repeatedly, right? And then I say, okay, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm only going to do it if you don't do it, right? Come to me and I come. Come to me and I come. And then at some point I say, come. And then I'm like, I'd rather not. And you do the little pull thing. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not coming. I know what you want. I'm just not, I don't want to come. And this isn't going to make me come. Nope. I don't care. That's you and your e-collar. Dog's like, don't care. Don't care. Now, obviously, you can get to a level of pressure where the dog's like, okay, I care, I'm coming, right? They have to respect the high end of the collar. It's just something that a lot of the low-stim e-collar people will never tell you. Every one of them that's like a higher level person, they show the dog the top end of the collar. And then they go back down, right? They have to respect the high end of the collar for them to properly respond to the low end of the collar. Especially for things where the dog says, no, I know what you want, but no, which they will, right? I don't need to zap my dog on 6 boxes to get it to comply, says Holly Blaze. Okay, Holly, I guarantee you, number one, we don't have the same dogs, but okay, fair enough. So do you think that if we ever competed on the same field, which I don't think your dog probably could even get a BH, to be honest with you. But do you think if we ever competed on the same field, that your dog would do for you what my dog does for me? You know the answer is no. So relax, calm down, enjoy the life, right? If we went for a walk, Holly, forget the field, forget tracking, forget obedience, forget protection. If we just went for a walk, and we took all the devices off the dogs and we got rid of all the treats and all the cookies. And I'd probably let you keep your damn cookies, right? And you can free shape your way through that walk. We'll go for a walk. How do you think that's going to go? You know how it's going to go, Holly. So stop. Stop capping on the internet. You want to talk free shaping and high-level training? I don't need to talk it, Holly. It's all back there. I actually did it. I don't need to talk it. What did she call me? You call me Andrew Tate? Hold on, let me see. Try to pretend to be Andrew Tate with a Mal. I don't have a Mal, Holly. I have 2 German Shepherds. You are fun, though. Husky constantly scratching at his e-collar. How should I deal with it? And you know, it's funny. People like Holly are very disingenuous. Oh, okay. BH is easy. Let's see it, Holly. It is easy now. You get to do it all on leash, but I bet you yours would still suck. I know it would. I'm not going to look at your channel. Who are you? I don't have time. Check out your 13-week-old puppy. No, Holly, I don't care. I don't care. I'm sure whatever free shaping nonsense you're doing is very exciting for you. Keep doing it. And I'm sure we'll all hear about you one day and all the success that you're having. Someone said, 3 boxes is reserved for the type of dog you've never seen before. Oh, she's never seen it before. I guarantee you. If she ever saw it, man, you know what? I probably shouldn't even say that on the internet. But regardless, it wouldn't be, it's funny, people have no conception. And I've always been very thankful, you know, that I've had the experience that I get to see dogs like this. Like I get to see, like, throughout my life, especially recently, I've always had the experience, I get the experience of extreme dogs. Whether it's Chico, you know, whether it's my friend Carson's dogs, you know, we've had extreme dogs, the type of dogs that like most people that are actually in dog sport couldn't even handle. Like people that know what they're doing, they couldn't handle these dogs, right? But we handle them and we make them straight, right? And we show the dogs. And they're a different kind of dog. They're not biddable, they're not easy, they're extreme, they're hard, they're aggressive, right? But why do we show these types of dogs? Because it tests you. It tests you. And it's a different level of test. Yes, when you take a nice dog and you train it, it's fun. And I don't begrudge people doing that. But when you take those kinds of dogs, those types of dogs that are 1 in a million, and you train with that dog and you make something with that dog, it's more special. It's more special and it's more meaningful because you know that very few people could ever do it. And people like Holly, no offense, Holly, have no understanding of what those dogs are like. They think they know, but they don't. They have no clue, and they would never be able to accomplish anything with those dogs other than potentially going to the hospital. And I'm very honest, by the way, like with certain things like that I do, right? Now, I guarantee you this. If the average person put 3 boxes on a Chico or put 3 boxes on, let's say, my buddy Carson's dog and tried to light that dog up and make him comply, they would go to the hospital in a very short period of time. Because it's not just about putting 3 boxes on a dog and lightening it up to make it listen to you. There's actually a lot more that goes into it. And I would strongly advise that nobody do that, especially if you have that type of dog, because you will end up in the hospital, as you probably should. It's you know, where you belong if you do something that stupid. You actually kind of have to know what you're doing. Who's this? Here we are, bud. Healing and healing. You've got like a... Oh, of course, like an Australian Shepherd or something. These people all look the same. Holly, you're going to call me out. You can't call me out. Hey, Haas, would an e-collar work for loose leash walking over needing to use a prong collar? Hoping to achieve the same outcome that a prong collar would do. Yes. I'll go over to my loose leash walking course. Have you ever noticed, guys, like anybody that subscribes to like these airy-fairy ideas, like Holly, you know, like free shaping, and they'll always come up with these silly things like, oh, I want my dog to be a thinking dog. Meanwhile, their dog can't do shit, right? Not in any kind of meaningful way. And then they'll, you know, be doing like regular puppy training with the dog, luring the dog for food, and, you know, oh, look, he figured it out. And then meanwhile, you take the dog in the real world, compete with the dog, nothing, no accomplishments, right? And the reason why is because, you know, these types of ideas appeal to a certain subset of people. And they're the type of people, unfortunately, that seem to enjoy Zach George's content. Oh my God. Holly's a man? No. Man, they be catfishing on this internet, eh? Dear Lord. I thought Holly was a girl. Holly's a man. Unbelievable. Scary. We're at 2%, guys. I'm going to get kicked out of this live any minute now. Man, what's with these guys? Like, normally, like, I expected, like, I totally thought, like, Holly was, like, a 14-year-old girl. Totally. And I was having fun. You're not a force-free trainer? Well, it doesn't sound like you're giving your dog very many options then, if you're balanced. Oh my goodness. Well, holy. Thanks for providing some entertainment. All right. Bro, I'm going to say bro now. You got to stop talking. I don't think you really know who you're talking to, but you have a good day, okay? Next time I'm on the field, I'll look around. I'll see if I catch sight of you. All right. Who taught me the word cap? I'm with it, my friend. All right. Okay, guys, I think we're winding down. It was a good one. I'll see you guys on the next one. And y'all have fun now. Enjoy your weekend.